Welcome. Today I have the pleasure of meeting with Shana. She is the president of Logic Creative Labs in Woodstock, and we are excited to learn more about everything that Logic has to offer for the homeschool community. Um, Shana, why don't you go ahead and just introduce a little bit about Logic and how it came to be, and we'd love to hear more.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Shana Silva, and I am a parent of four children that I decided to homeschool about 13 years ago. And I recognized over the years that homeschooling four children simultaneously was a whole lot of work. And so I started looking for different opportunities, things like what Unite Homeschool offers, right? I needed field trips, I needed adventures, I needed something that was outside of my home. And I decided that I needed just a little bit more than that one stop, that one moment, that touch point that my kids were getting at something like a ballet class or jujitsu class. I wanted my children to grow with other students and with other parents that were also in the same homeschooling world. So I started looking around for a whole bunch of different places, tried a whole bunch of different things, tried a whole bunch of different curricula, and ended up with this a la carte model that Logic Creative Labs now is today. So they've got 140 students offering K through 12 programming, and it has been nothing short of miraculous for my kids. They offer classes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And since everything is a la carte style, I can pick and choose based on the interests of my children, and I can also pick and choose based on where they are with math. If they're in fourth grade technically, but are doing fifth grade math, then guess what? They'll be able to place there. And so that flexibility has really driven the now over 140 classes that are being offered at Logic each semester. So they're typically 1 hour classes. Some of the higher level classes for high school will meet sometimes 2 hours. And then it's a co-education process. So you have classes during the week, whatever you're doing with your students and not really facilitating at home as much. So you take those classes during the week, you bring your homework home and do it. And then you're able to participate in that dynamic class environment when you return the next week. So we've likened it to co-educating, right? As homeschoolers, we are responsible for the education of our children all the way through in every aspect of it. But there were certain things like, I don't know, dissecting 20 different animals that I really needed to outsource to somebody else, right? Not in my house. I'm creative, but I'm not really an artist. So I loved that my creative daughter was then able to take a graphic design novel class. She could take a art and literature class. She could take a multitude of different mediums that she could then discover what she was feeling passionate about. And I love that I have made these relationships with so many different parents. We actually have currently 36 different parent teachers within the semester that are each offering whatever their specialty is. So, for instance, I'm an attorney, and I next semester I'm offering a criminal law class. Right? Who's going to get that in a traditional schooling environment? Well, a
That's
homeschool,
right.
right? Because that's
That's
what we're
right.
about. And so we look for those things for our parents that we absolutely love. And then they get to teach it and they get to hand off the higher level math that we haven't done since, oh, I'm not going to tell you what year. And we get to hand that off to someone who's not only passionate about it, but also very present with it. And they're doing it because their children needed it or because it was a particular skill of theirs. So, with so many different teachers, we're really able to give the whole breadth of everything from Core 4 to those wild and creative classes that you just dreamed of when you were writing down your wishes and hopes for homeschooling. So, that's Logic.
Very good. And so, do you guys meet 5 days a week?
So right now it's a la carte, but they only offer classes 3 days a week, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays from 9:30 until 4. But let's say that I'm doing science at home. You don't have to take the science classes that are offered on Mondays and Wednesdays. You can take history during that time period. We typically have 2 to 3 classes for each age group at every hour. There's 11 different classrooms. Well, technically 12, but one's tiny. And so we can offer a whole lot at one time. And that building gets really full, and my kids are running around with all their buddies, and they can pick and choose who they're eating lunch with. And it's just a great, robust environment for our kids to then step into on their own terms, with the desires of the family kind of at their focus, and make that part of their homeschooling robust.
Mhm.
I could never do at home. Never. Like, no matter how hard I try, what they're getting there is so much more than I could ever put together myself.
Absolutely. That sounds really great. I think the community that you're building there is really valuable. And it really just warms my heart to think that these kids are going to, these are the best friends and the future spouses. And, you're going to get to dance at the weddings of these kids when they're older, and just that just makes me really happy for the community because relationship is one of the most valuable things that we can have while we're here. And that's just fantastic.
Um, then, when we've got that relationship built, that's when we can start developing those interests outside of co-op. And so a lot of what Unite does and a lot of what other groups do is they'll then go on community field trips together. So for instance, we're going to the Carter Museum in a few weeks. We're going to the CDC so that we can not only supplement that academic side, but do those social things with people that you know and love. And there's an adult that you've been seeing every day for the past 4 years, that you can just, rely on and say, do you know where my water bottle is? Or have you seen my mom? It's about being able to do all of those things outside together. Um, this Friday, we're having kids' night. And so we have all the little guys come. We bring our go-karts and our tricycles and one of those little plastic roller coasters, and they just run around and jump in the creek and have fun. But it's that sort of day in, day out. We've been in class together. We had lunch together that I didn't fully realize that I was missing until I got to see what the kids were doing in that environment. And we're so lucky. We're so lucky.
That does sound great. So, do you guys have your own facility then? I'm assuming.
Yes, we have a 5,700 square foot facility and an acre lot that has a beautiful creek that runs through it. We have a playground area, a mud kitchen, all that like fun, crunchy outdoor toes in the creek type of stuff. Even the teenagers were out just this afternoon sitting in hammocks under the trees, just laughing with each other. It's that sort of moment where, there's parents maybe 20 feet off. They're not listening to all of the secrets, but they're there, and the parents get to hang out and the kids get to hang out. And so this whole facility belongs to us. You can then see the children's artwork on the walls. My daughter forgot her stuffed fox there the other day, and the folks that were closing sent photos of the fox on all these little adventures. It was just those sort of things, right, that you can't imagine until they happen to your own family. It's great having our own space.
Yeah, that really does sound amazing. And so you said that you offer core and elective classes. Is there a vision for the future?
Absolutely. So, actually, just recently, we have achieved accreditation as a non traditional educational facility. And so, we will be offering accredited diplomas. So, that trajectory towards in depth education is really what we're focusing on for our high schoolers. We anticipate in the next year being able to offer the PSAT, the SAT, and AP testing. But that's a process that we're in the middle of right now. As far as growth goes, what we've seen over the past few years is some people will start off dipping their toes in 1 day a week, a class here or there, and they'll end up through middle school deciding to take somewhere around 12 classes. And what's fascinating about it is the class offerings, those electives change as the parents age. So when I first started Logic, I was teaching things for my younger children. And then as they grew up, I realized how exciting high schoolers were to teach and how much I loved them. And those dynamic discussions and the Socratic style education is something that evolves as an organization evolves. And then I could be a mentor to new and incoming families and let them know that they're not recreating school. They're literally sharing their passions and what fascinates them about education. And that's why we're homeschooling, right? Like that's what we wanted. We wanted that special thing that we didn't feel like we could find elsewhere. And so when I look to the parents in my community, I not only now have a vast number of friends that I wouldn't have if I had stayed behind my own two doors, but I also have this pool of amazing people who are like, oh, sure, I can teach a food science class and we can bake things and we can fry things and we can understand the chemistry behind it. But then I can take those same parents' kids and teach them about the law. This year, we're having my class is called Bad Arguments, and we talk about logical fallacies and critical thinking and how to think about the information that you receive in the media and how to do things like pre-bunking your brain to not be so susceptible to the way that people talk in the media. It's fun.
I am actually a very big proponent for critical thinking, and I'm always teaching especially my 14-year-old, about the importance of thinking critically. So that's fantastic. Now, I noticed that you guys are a secular organ. You do more secular educating. Would you
Yes.
like to talk a little bit more about what that means?
Absolutely. So our the language that we use around secularity is that we are secular inclusive. So we have actually many different religious beliefs that are represented within our community. And we think it's really important to have a diversity of voices. But we also think that it's incredibly important for anyone that walks through our doors to feel safe being exactly who they are. And that extends to any different label, division, mode of thought. We want that inclusivity, which is hard, right? Inclusivity is very challenging on a lot of different levels, but it's one of the things that really heavily motivates us all across the board. So while secularity is the way that we approach science, history, mathematics, we have several world religion classes that are up and coming. So it's not a matter of keeping religion at a distance, but it's a matter of making sure that we're not proselytizing to the point where someone may feel uncomfortable because they have a different belief set. Um, but we recognize that we live in a global world and we have to be able to see all of those different viewpoints, again, with critical thinking and the ability to say, when you're good to another human, that's all right by me, right? It's all about taking those steps to make sure that the person that's sitting next to you feels safe and included. You know, I tell new families whenever they come in that, have you ever been on the outside of a circle and you walk up to a group of folks and you're like, hey guys, I'm Shana. And they're like, they kind of have that like body language where they're not quite sure that you belong in that circle. And we counsel both our students and our parents to be that one that turns their shoulder, to be that one that breaks the circle and physically welcomes another person in, right? That's a foundational element of how we live our lives. And so during the day, when I'm not teaching classes, I will sit up by the front door, and every single child that walks in that door gets a big warm hello from me or another parent, just to make sure that they know that they're welcome. It's the best part of my day.
That's great. So, obviously, you go all the way through high school level. How young does your program start?
Our programming is primarily offered for K through 12. But we do have many families with multiple children. And so, what happens with the preschoolers when they come into Logic is they are right by the side of their parent. So, whatever parent brings them, they'll either typically offer something like, an outdoor messy art class, or I have one teacher that offers this wonderful class called Gabbin' Games, and they talk and they play recess games and they just have a lot of fun together. But there's an adult facilitator who's making sure that any conflict is resolved respectably and that the children don't sort of devolve into chaos, but instead have a type of directed play. But with the preschoolers, it is almost always with the parent within arm's length. And then as they age, you start right? When we have more than one kid, we've got to juggle those different ages. So that's what's wonderful about the cooperative model is that parents are on site, they're always participating, they're always available. And oftentimes we ask our parents to come within, we have a 10-minute window between classes. Come and find your student. Let them show you their work. Let them get that battery boost from you to just get a hug or a snack or a warm smile and be a part of their day. It's quite different from when they come home from school on the bus and everything's shoved in the backpack and they're like, what did you do today? And they're like, I don't know. And so the parent involvement is there, even with my 13-year-old who's kind of grunting sometimes, but I can still get out of him the things that he felt most inspired by. I actually had a toddler, I think she's 3 years old, come into my high school class today. And we tried to get the toddler to walk across the room. They were tasked with this job, get the toddler to walk across the room. Do you think they achieved it, Angela? No. They could not figure out how to get a toddler to walk across the room. And it was just so delightful that not only did we have the flexibility to teach that content of, I don't know how to get a toddler to walk across the room. How do you motivate an individual who has no idea who you are and is not interested in any of the incentives that you're offering them? These teens were also able to just see a toddler, right? How many teens are going to be like, oh yeah, there's a 3-year-old that's walking down the hall. Let's go chat with her. But now we've built that bond, and this little girl is going to be able to see them and wave to them and grow up with them. You know, it's just great. So this multi-age thing has been really wonderful. Now, of course, they're not taking classes together, but we offer wider bands than most grades do because we know that homeschoolers come at us with many, many different capacities, many, many different levels, and people are doing different things at home. I mean, I got to say, every single math curriculum is somehow represented in someone's house within Logic. We've tried it all.
So we have a young man who is almost ready to graduate, but he is on the spectrum and he is looking for some additional opportunities for just relational growth and getting plugged into more community. What age would you guys normally cut off? You know, if they're 18, are they still allowed to come, especially if they've got some learning challenges?
So that's a great question. One of the things that we see in homeschool all the time is a really broad spectrum of neurodiversity. And so while we are capable, because our parents are so highly involved, we are capable of handling a much wider range of learning differences. I do think that once a student reaches a certain age, we try to support them in whatever path they're doing. So we have a program for our juniors and seniors called Ready to Launch. And it teaches life skills. It teaches a lot about the college application process. It's a curriculum that Logic developed itself that gives those high school age students a chance to learn the stuff that they might stumble over in those last couple of years of high school. So it's a program like that, and one that ends in a capstone project that I could see someone like him being able to do, right? And it all depends on what the family goal is together for any student. So if he did want to do an independent study, or if he did want to take different classes, the band is wide enough and the community is strong enough that we can say, yeah, let's bring you, let's find a way to make this work. And also too, we have a lot of student teachers. So what happens, I think by the age of 12 or 13, we let students offer a club, right? It's not a course or in any way sort of considered part of the homeschooling curriculum because we have different laws and standards for teachers. But our students can co-teach with their parent or another trusted adult. any kind of class that they're interested in. I'm trying to get my 13-year-old to do a dry land training class where kids are doing fitness and they're doing all the sort of, not weightlifting, but some cardio, some movement, some stretching. And he would co-teach that with another adult who's really interested in physical fitness. So putting children in a space where they can advocate for themselves, where they can develop a syllabus, where they even have to do a little bit of classroom management, I think it's such a way to grow in so many ways.
Absolutely. I think that student leadership is a really big part. And I really believe that the homeschool world, we understand that. And it's one of those things that can really only happen in a more flexible environment. But having servant leaders is really a great opportunity for homeschoolers. So I love that.
Well,
Fantastic.
think about what it does for the younger children to see that modeling of that leadership. It's not just a gift to the child that's doing the work, it's a gift to all of the others so that they can say, that's who I want to be. That's how I want to be. It's no longer, what do you want to do for a career? It's, who do you model your life actions after? What are the steps that you've seen other people take that you want to follow in? And I'm just so grateful that we have such a great group of high schoolers right now because they are in it. They are throwing themselves in. They all planned their own prom. They're doing an escape room this year instead of that traditional standing on the walls, like someone's dancing, someone's not. They're just going to go and have an adventure together. Last year, they went bowling. We don't need to keep following in the ways of tradition, but we do need to celebrate the things that we care about the most. We have a moving up ceremony every year so that we can really celebrate the milestones for our students. And even kindergartners get their little cap and gown if they want to.
That sounds really fun. I love that. Well, this has been super great. I love hearing about all the different ways that you're serving the community. And is there anything else that you would like to share with the homeschool world?
I just want to let everybody know that I'm so grateful for the opportunity within our community to be able to share with the families. I get to teach their children. I'm so lucky there. But Logic has also opened its doors to other organizations. We've had some scouting events there, some counseling services. We've offered CPR classes within our facility. Because we have such an expansive facility, we really wanted to be a resource to the community. And that's something that we've been able to achieve in the past couple of years. So as we look at our 5th year of classes, we really want to continue that growth too. So as people are thinking about, where can we gather as a community, they can reach out to me and learn a little bit more about what else we have to offer.
That's great. Thank you very much. This has been really fun.
Thank you, Angela.